Sorry, didn't see you there. What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon back, and I'm bringing you another top Pokemon card auctions of the week recap. Thank you for tuning in as we review the most pertinent and bestest auctions that occurred this past week involving Pokemon cards. This week we will be reviewing a ton of not only modern but vintage booster boxes that sold, and we will also be drawing our winner of this Magikarp and Wailord Alt Art GX card, so stay tuned for all of that and more. Big thanks to today's auction recap sponsor, and the sponsor of today's amazing and very generous giveaway is none other than lowpopping.market. Folks, if you haven't already, go to Instagram and follow lowpopping.market. They have some absolutely magnificent cards on there for sale, spanning across pretty much every era of the Pokemon TCG, including numerous graded cards from Beckett, PSA, and CGC. And don't forget, with lowpopping.market, you can trade for any particular card that you must have for your collection. With that being said, let's start the drawing for this Magikarp and Wailord Alt Art GX from Team Up. Alright, let's get on the YouTube comment picker and paste our video link. And we're also going to filter out duplicate users. Down here we gotta solve the sum. So I guess 2 plus 9 is in fact 11. Now we're going to get the comments here, and I hope it's no more than 500. I think you can't do any more than 500 comments on this site without paying extra. So, all right, 384 comments. Y'all ready? Let's go. And the winner is Jay Anderson, who said, favorite card of all time has to be the Skyridge Gyarados. Love the content. Well, the Skyridge Gary is an amazing card. Congratulations, Jay Anderson. Reach out to me via my email address, which will be in the description below. If I don't hear from the winner within a week, I will be drawing again on next week's auction recap. Thank you so much to everybody who participated in the giveaway. I really appreciate it. So I guess that's it, folks. Without further ado, let's get into this auction recap. Starting off with this Charizard EX Black Star promo, a relatively new card from the Charizard EX Premium Collection box. And it's pretty much the same design as the Charizard EX from Obsidian Flames. I think maybe he just has his mouth closed here. So not too much different there. But what really shocked me about this card was the fact that there were a lot of graded copies hitting the market pretty much as soon as this collection box was released. So I'm not sure what tier people are paying to get these cards graded. They must be paying the Express tier because they came back really quickly. But this card in a PSA 10 sold this week for $152.50. We also saw the Mewtwo from the Ultra Premium Collection box from the 151 set that sold for $152.50 as well as a PSA 10. We saw the Umbreon VMAX come by in PSA 10 and sold this week for about $750, while a BGS 10 Black Label example sold this week for $3,835. Up next, we have another Black Label card. It's the Mewtwo V-Star from Crown Zenith that sold this week for about $615 US. And then we saw a couple of cards that used to be riding sky high but have since come down in the past few months. Here's the Full Art Lily Trainer from Ultra Prism, sold this week for $1,144. And then the Full Art Sightseer in PSA 10 sold for $1,576. And then I wanted to mention this sale. This is probably the most valuable card from Pokemon Go. It's the Alt Art Mewtwo V, and that sold for $46 as a PSA 10. So unfortunately, Pokemon Go just never really took off in terms of being valuable, really. People just, it must have been a supply thing. There must have been just a crazy abundance of Pokemon Go. I don't know what the issue is, but this is the most expensive card in that set. Up next, we have a bunch of Rainbow Rare cards, mostly from the Sun and Moon era. Here is the Mimikyu GX from Lost Thunder that sold for $245. Here is a Charizard and Braixen GX Rainbow Rare from Cosmic Eclipse. Now later on in the video, I'm going to show you what Cosmic Eclipse booster boxes have been selling for, but this card right here is definitely one of the top 3 most expensive in that set, and it sold for $135.50. An absolutely dirt cheap Hyper rare Charizard, if I've ever seen one. And then from Team Up, we saw this Pikachu and Zekrom Rainbow Rare GX card that sold for $178. And then the Rainbow Rare Gengar Mimikyu GX sold for $234. And then also from Team Up, we saw this Eevee and Snorlax GX that sold for an even $300. And then lastly, for the Rainbow Rares, here's a Lugia GX from Lost Thunder that sold for $450. So Rainbow Rares were never really on the same level as Alt Arts in terms of value. So there you go. Up next, we have a Japanese black and white full art Zekrom anniversary card. This is the 15th anniversary card in PSA 10 that sold this week for $4,560, while the full art Reshiram in PSA 10 sold for $4,860. Here's a graded card you don't see come by very often. It is the 1999 Japanese promo Flying Pikachu in PSA 10 that sold for about $443 US. And then on to the vintage portion on eBay, we saw the CGC 10 Gem Mint first edition base set Mewtwo come by, sold for $3,033, and then we saw a CGC 10 Raichu first edition from base set that sold for $1,875. Here we have another PSA 10 first edition Articuno holo from Fossil. We've been seeing this bird fly by quite a bit in the auctions the past few weeks. This copy sold for $2,950. From Skyridge, we saw this holo Vaporeon that sold for $1,105. And then from Aquapolis, we saw this Crystal Lugia that sold for $9,800 as a PSA 10. And then right next to that was the Crystal Charizard in PSA 10 that sold for $13,800 this week. A few more interesting Charizard sales. Here is a CGC 10 Gold Star Charizard from Dragon Frontiers, sold for $8,211. Here is a Japanese black and white Plasma Gale first edition Charizard that sold for $3,350. This would be the Stormfront version for those of you who collect English. Here is a CGC9 no rarity symbol base set Charizard that sold for $15,730 this week. And this card, no matter what grade it is super valuable. It's kind of like the first edition English base set Charizard when you had the no rarity symbol involved. We have a Gengar Prime from Heart Gold Soul Silver Triumphant. Now, you know me, not a big fan of those Prime cards, but this is probably my favorite one. Sold as a PSA 10 for $815 this week. And then from EX Holon Phantoms, we saw a PSA 10 Gold Star Pikachu that sold for $8,200. And then on to the sealed product portion of the video. Let's start out with a funny auction. We have this possibly fake Evolutions booster box, and just looking at the front of it, it's a given, buddy. It's a given that it's fake. It's not possibly fake, it is fake. Just look at the side of it. It has the packs in there, like, rearranged the opposite side and, like, upside down. That's pretty funny. Still sold for $192, so I hope that wasn't an actual sale, because someone just got ripped off. Here we have a collection of 15 sealed authentic modern booster boxes, including an Evolutions box and an Evolving Skies box. And here's a list of all the boxes. Looks like a majority of them were like Sword and Shield, but all 15 boxes here sold for $2,325. And I really didn't break it down in terms of what these boxes would sell for individually, so you let me know in the comments if you think this is a good deal or not. Here we have a Sun and Moon Unbroken Bonds booster box, sold for $610 this week, along with this Cosmic Eclipse booster box that sold for $840. Here we have a Team Up booster box, easily the most expensive booster box from Sun and Moon, sold for $1,800 this week. And then a few vintage booster boxes came by. Here's an Unlimited Fossil booster box, sold for $6,900, along with the first edition Fossil box that sold for $9,500. Sorry, I was getting parched there. Here from TCA Gaming. I love seeing sales from TCA Gaming because you know they are legitimate. We have a sealed first edition Team Rocket box that sold for an even $13,000. And then we saw a first edition Gym Challenge box that sold for $13,600. On to the PWCC weekly auction block, we have a BGS 9.5 1996 Japanese phone card, Koroko Comics red phone card that sold for $1,470. We saw two awesome Gengar cards. Here's a Gengar Level X from Arceus that sold for $1,500. And then we saw this Gengar EX from Fire Red Leaf Green that sold for $2,190. Here we have an unlimited holographic Kangaskhan from Jungle, a very, very difficult card to grade, even though it's a theme deck card, still really hard to get as a 10. Sold for $1,560 this week. And then we saw this first edition Erica's Venusaur from Gym Challenge that sold for $1,890. A couple of gold stars in PSA 10. Here's the gold star Regirock that sold for $2,040. A gold star Alakazam from Crystal Guardian sold for $2,880. And then a gold star Torchic in PSA 9 sold for an even $3,000. Here we have the Gold Star Trico from EX Team Rocket Returns, sold for $5,280 as a PSA 10. And then here we have another PSA 10 first edition Fossil Articuno that sold for $2,880, which seems to be the market price for this card as a PSA 10 lately. Here we have a reverse holo Mewtwo from Legendary Collection, sold for an even $3,000 as a PSA 10. And then we saw this first edition Red Cheeks Pikachu from base set that sold for $3,000 as well. And then we have another lineup of awesome Charizards. Here's the Full Art Charizard EX from Flashfire, sold for $1,530. Here is the non-holo Charizard card from Legendary Collection that sold for $1,740, which isn't too bad for a non-holo theme deck card, if you ask me. We saw the first edition Dark Charizard in PSA 10 sell for an even $3,000. We saw this Charizard EX from Fire Red Leaf Green and CGC 10 sell for $1,800, and the PSA 10 example sold for double at $3,600. Here we have a first edition Blaine's Charizard that sold for $3,600 as well. And then here is the Japanese base set Charizard. This one has the rarity symbol, and it sold for $4,320 this week. Here we have a PSA 10 Alola Friends from the Limited Master Battle set that sold for $4,080. And then here is a Mimikyu Scream promo in PSA 10 that sold for $4,200. Getting down to the final three auctions, here is a PSA 10 first edition base set Raichu that sold for $9,000. I think we reviewed the CGC 10 copy earlier in the video, and I think it was like less than $2,000, so quite a premium on that PSA 10 grade. And then here's a PSA 10 first edition Gyarados from base set that sold for $10,200. And the final auction in today's video is this BGS 9.5 no rarity symbol Japanese holo Venusaur from base set that sold for $13,800. And according to the title, this is a Pop 3 card, none graded higher, with Beckett. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. I hope you enjoyed the recap. Don't forget to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to be a subscriber. Help me get to 30,000 subs. I would really appreciate it. That's all I got for you, folks. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll catch you all in my next one.